This episode of Bright Hearth is brought to you by Indigo Sundry Soap Company, Rooted Pines Homestead, Joe Garrissey with Backwards Planning Financial, Live Oak Integrative Health, the Kings Ridge Elderberries, Gray Toad Tallow, A Well-Worn Story, and by our supporters at patreon.com. All right, babe, so since this is a Q&A episode, we don't really have a cold open. So I was wondering if you had a song that you could sing?
Nope. Nada.
Doesn't have to,
Never.
It doesn't have to be original.
Nope.
You could just sing.
Nope.
What's your favorite song to sing from the 80s? While you're doing dishes,
From
you
the
know.
80s.
The ones you dance
Michael
to.
Jackson.
The ones I take video around the corner of you
Yeah,
dancing to.
no. Nope.
Oh, fine. All right, well, in that case, just welcome to this episode of Bright Hearth, everybody.
You will not be getting a duet album from us anytime.
People have been asking for them on Twitter. They're like, man, I love Brian's Hearth Songs album, but it'd be so much better if Lexy were singing harmonies. It'd be sweet. And I agree. I've invited her a million times.
No, what did you want to do? You wanted to do... It wasn't maracas. You were going to have me do a little instrument. It was very funny.
Tambourine or something.
It was so funny.
Triangle.
Anyways, didn't work out.
List you as a musician.
But it would have been so funny.
Well, maybe another day.
Nope, I'm not a singer. I mean, I am now because I have to sing the Psalms according to Scripture, but
that is true.
That was after a stern conversation you had with me.
That is a great point. Well, guys, in this episode, now a while ago, I promised, I said we're going to start answering questions from there's like a send us a text feature now in the description of the podcast that our podcast distributor built, which is cool. And it sends us like this little text message thing. We can't reply to them, I found out after launching it, but I've been asking you guys to send your questions in. And I said we would try to pick a question every episode and answer it. And then like probably 2 out of 3 of the episodes we've done, I've forgotten to pick a question. So we're going to catch up because you guys have sent us a lot of good questions. And in this episode here, we're going to catch up. And the first question was more of it had a sad face emoji in it.
Okay.
And it said, "Are you telling me you guys aren't going to ship to Canada for your book?" And I was like, actually good news on that front. I will put a link. Well, actually, no, just you don't even need a special link. We have a Canadian distributor for all of our books at New Christendom now. We've got 2 books published so far. The Haunted Cosmos book Ben and I just wrote, and then Zachary Garris's Honor Thy Fathers. And we partnered with a Christian distributor up in Canada, and we just sent them a bunch of cases of our books, and you can now order in Canada, and they will ship them to you. So you don't have to deal with customs, and like it was just difficult for us to ship them from our warehouse. So if you go to newchristendompress.com/cosmos, where our normal book, just on New Christendom Press's website, where the book is sold, you can, there at the bottom of the description, it'll say like, click here for Canadian shipping. It'll take you right to their website.
That's handy.
We're both like sick, so I'm really sorry if we
make the wild, wild west here today.
I hate it when people make sounds, coughing and other sounds into microphones that I'm listening to. So we'll try not to. But let's actually jump in. That was not a real question. Let's jump into our first. It's also dark now at like 4:15 p.m. So
only for a few more days.
Okay.
Solstice is coming.
Solstice? Yeah, we're close to solstice.
Yeah, we are.
All right, guys, here's the first question. It says, "Hi, guy." I'm not going to read it like a girl.
Okay.
They're probably all girls, but "Hi, guys. I love your podcast so much and am so thankful for your wisdom." Well, thank you. "I am a young wife and mom, and I am seeking to create a rich culture in my home. Do you have tips for this when I have a small baby? My baby's 5 months old, and it feels hard to create a high culture when I'm home alone with someone who can't talk. I make sure to sing lots of hymns, read board books, and recite scripture to her. What are your thoughts?" Any
That's
thoughts
great.
on that?
Right there. There you go.
Dress your baby up like a Victorian,
no,
like a Jane Austen character.
I think those are all really great places to start. And it reminds me of something that they said on the it was like Cindy Rollins and the Literary Life podcast a long time ago about how if you want to get to Shakespeare with your kids, you have to start by teaching them the ABCs.
Yeah.
And it's so true because you want to do the big glorious things when they're like teenagers, but it really does start by cultivating those small habits when they're a lot younger.
Yeah.
Lots of board books, lots of good music. I think she said she's already working on scripture. I remember reading various picture Bibles over and over and over and over and over again, and it really did just help the kids get a good, like, overall map of how the Bible worked. So I would say get a good quality one of those and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just those habits consistently adding up over time makes a big difference. The book that I really liked, the 2 books that helped me a lot, well, there were 3. Okay, so I think it's from Simply Charlotte Mason. It was The Younger Years, I think, or The Little Years. It's not up here in our room, but it's like a compilation of Charlotte Mason's thoughts from her actual work based on the ages 0 to 6. So that was very helpful for me. In addition, I really liked Susan Schaefer Macaulay's For the Family's Sake. Everybody always says for the children's sake, but I really liked For the Family's Sake because it actually focused on like whole family habits, like you're saying. What are those whole family culture building type activities that you can be doing before school age? Outside time, hiking. We got a lot of our ideas for like what we wanted our kids to be able to do outside as young children from that book. And then there was a 3rd one. Oh, I really liked anything by Edith Schaefer, honestly. And I kind of meld all of her books together in my brain. So I don't know if it was What is a Family or if it was The Hidden Art of Homemaking, but I know that both of those books together really shaped that time period of parenting for me and just thinking how I want to be using my time with my children. The other thing is when you have a little baby like that, you do still have a lot of free time. So maybe be thinking about what are the skill sets you would like to have to pass on to your children that you don't yet have, that you could be spending the next year or 2 learning, because you could probably pick up 2 or 3 skills in the next 24 months, sewing, canning, woodworking, something like that. So, there's my answer. I don't know. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, no, that's really good, especially you're answering more what she's specifically asking, and let me back up to a general principle that is important not to neglect, and that is that, of course, the most important aspect of culture that you can bring into your home is a cheerful attitude. Mm-hmm. So be working on that. You want your children's memory of you, even from youth, to be of, not that you're always bursting with happiness or that there's not discipline and heart, but just in general, like don't neglect respect your husband, speak well of him, be cheerful to your children, have a good attitude. That's such an important part of culture that ensouls all of the stuff, all the good books and good food and good traditions.
Correct. And I think when you are in a well-functioning marriage that is not dysfunctional, I think we can kind of forget sometimes that those are the basics, but it's glaringly obvious when you see something that is dysfunctional, and it's also glaringly obvious to your children. They will make comments when they go places just about different family cultures that are, honestly, not good family cultures.
Yeah.
So having a lot of those just like godly relational skills in place really does impact the family culture more than you realize. You can take it for granted if it's something that not comes naturally, but I don't know. What's a word I'm thinking of?
It's a good word.
Okay. All right, there you go. The end.
Okay. Second question. Someone says, Brian, enjoyed meeting you when you spoke at Sacred City in Indiana. IA is Indiana, right? Or is it Iowa?
There's no N. Oh, wait, A.
IA. Oh,
Weren't you right on the border?
Yeah, here's the problem is that it was between Illinois. This is like public school.
I'm Googling it right now.
IA
what did you say? It was
State.
IA? I think it's Iowa.
It's Iowa. Oh, my word, guys. That was embarrassing.
Did you Google it?
I was literally there. I was there.
I didn't. I
guys.
tried Googling it and failed.
It's Iowa.
I still don't know how to use my phone.
Yes, and that was awesome. I really enjoyed meeting all the saints down there. That was a great little trip. So they said bring Lexi next time too, which I agree 100%. The question is this. In regard to head coverings, should we have our daughters who live at home wear head coverings? I'm unsure if woman in 1 Corinthians 11 means all females or just married women. My general take, some of the confusion is a translational issue here. In 1 Corinthians 11, the word woman is gyne, and it can be translated as wife or as women in general. And there's some lengthy arguments that go back and forth about everything from various aspects of Roman culture, whether the Romans had in Corinth had a specific tradition of veiling or putting head coverings on married women, but not on virgins. And then even the opposite, on veiling virgins and not veiling virgins. And some of the translations translate it, I think it might be the ESV that even does this. Most of them translate it women. Some of them translate it married wives. I favor the women translation, not the wives translation, and think that Paul is speaking generally to women and not just to wives in the passage, and that his other argumentation makes sense of that. There's some good argument. There's some good articles on this that on like headcoveringmovement.com and some of those websites. So
that really long book on the headcoveringmovement.com that's only an ebook is great on this, and he would say the same as what you're saying.
Yeah, the one that's like very, very detailed. I'm trying to remember.
It's like 500 to 600 pages long.
Yeah. They have on head covering movement. Let's see if I can find it. Writings, ebooks.
You're going to be, you're way faster than my sad little cold fingers.
Is it David Phillips or is it Leslie McFall? Good Order in the Church. Leslie
yes,
McFall,
that
right?
one. Yeah.
Yeah, so they have a download of it at headcoveringmovement.com under writings and then ebooks. If you go down, they have it covers some of these. Like what I just said is skipping a rock over the argument. There's whole books written about some of these cultural questions.
He covered a lot of also like, where do you cover?
Yeah, like, is it just in worship? Is it all the time? Is it just in public?
I remember him having a really easy to use, this is your question about the passage. Well, here, this is the part of the book to read then.
And that book's real in depth. So in general, just one note, this is kind of a textual interpretation note. In general, when someone says, in this cultural moment or place where Paul wrote or whatever about a biblical text, they did this, and that influenced his writing. Always, I'm not saying that's never true, but just be skeptical, because the Roman veiling is a great example of this, where there's really mixed evidence about how veils and head coverings were worn in Roman female culture. And we have lots of evidence of women who were uncovered in public in Roman culture and who were covered. We have evidence of women in certain areas of Roman culture being veiled and not. And you have to remember that Rome is this vast empire, and even a city like Corinth is a seaport. So there's huge numbers of cultures clashing, and it's not often the case that you're going to be able to say, like, Roman culture did this with dress. That would be like saying Americans wear skinny jeans. And you're like, well, some Americans do, but not everybody does. So worth noting on a textual note there. It's also interesting to note that some of the earlier writings of church fathers have mentioned Corinth and say that they continued the practice of head covering even today. And Jerome, I believe, is one, and there's another one who specifically mentions that it was not just married women.
Oh, really?
It actually mentions widows and virgins.
Interesting.
So it seemed to be a practice that was practiced by women generally. Are you tired of not feeling well and of having your doctor treat your symptoms without taking the time to investigate what's really going on? Rebecca Belch at Live Oak Integrative Health is here to help. Rebecca is passionate about helping women and families achieve the health that God designed in our bodies to have. With more than 20 years of experience as a critical care and labor and delivery nurse, she now serves as a licensed practitioner of functional medicine. Her goal is to address the root causes of dysfunction in your body and to help give your body what it needs so that you can create a legacy of health that extends to your children and grandchildren. She provides a wide range of testing options to uncover your underlying health issues, such as fatigue, weight gain, and gut problems. Then she works with you to develop a plan that focuses on nutrition, hormone balance, and long-term habits to promote enduring health. She also specializes in health for women who will become or currently are pregnant. This time is often overlooked and is the most important window to create generational health. Check out her website to book a free discovery call right now and get a $50 discount on any of her service options. You can do this on her website, liveoakintegrativehealth.com. Hey friends, let's talk about Gray Toad Tallow. They're a family-owned small business dedicated to making products that nourish your skin with the purest, most wholesome ingredients. For centuries, people have experienced the moisturizing and healing properties of tallow, and Gray Toad Tallow is committed to sharing these benefits their family has experienced with you. Besides their commitment to offering you a healthy skincare option for your family, Gray Toad Tallow's desire is to remain affordable and accessible to be a blessing to others. For more information and to try a balm sample pack, visit graytoadtallow.com. That link will be in the description along with this code, which we would urge you not to forget to use for 15% off your order. That code is all caps, BRIGHT15, BRIGHT15 for 15% off your order, and we truly appreciate your business. If you have a young family like me, you work hard every day to ensure you care for your wife and kids. Providing for a young family is challenging with rising costs, and it doesn't look like things are going to change in the future. Maybe you've thought like I have, I wish I'd started investing years ago. My family would be in a better financial position. As they say about trees, the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. Don't let the benefit of time go to waste on your financial planning for retirement or inheritance for your generations. Joe Garrissey with Backwards Planning Financial has been working with us to make the best plan for our family. He's a Christian who works with one of the largest and most trusted financial service companies in the world. He's been helping Lexy and I work towards our financial goals and helps us navigate the complexities of the markets. Whether you have millions in assets or you're just starting to invest, Joe Garrissey can help you reach your goals to grow the kingdom and leave a good legacy for your generations. Visit backwardsplanningfinancial.com. That's backwardsplanningfinancial.com. Or call 615-767-2555 to speak with Joe to prepare for the future. The testimonials presented may not be representative of the experience of other clients and are not a guarantee of future performance or success. We're probably not going to do a whole episode on this, but I figured we can answer the question. They said, could you do an episode on specific products you use around the house? What do you use along with TSP for dishes and STTP for laundry? What surfaces do you use Tide and bleach on? Guys, we got so many questions from our cleaning episode. I figured I'd toss these over to you. Anything come to mind?
Okay, I can't hold all those questions in my head at once.
Yeah, so
what's the first question?
What do you use? Well, what specific products do you use around the house?
Okay.
Do you use something along with TSP and dishes?
Not in the dishwasher, no.
We just use normal dish soap.
Yeah,
hand
2
washing.
teaspoons in the dishwasher.
TSP.
Yes, I actually really do like using tallow soap for dishes, especially now that it's getting cold again. I'm noticing last winter I used tallow all winter and my hands never cracked once, and they're cracking this year. So I actually want to get another. Ballerina Farms is the one that I typically was getting and did really well. When it was too greasy and the tallow just wouldn't cut it, I have Dawn, just like Blue Dawn for that.
And we use Dawn Power Wash Spray for greasy messes around the house.
Yeah, like in the kitchen, especially like above the hood or on the counters after I've been frying or something. Yeah. So what was the next question?
Just here's a pro tip, guys.
What?
I'm an expert dishwasher. Lexi's talking about her hands getting dry. I hate having my hands be dry. And like I hate getting them wet and soapy from dishes. So I use tongs to hold the sponge.
He's not
And
joking.
I wash dishes with the
He's
soap in the
not joking.
tongs. And then,
Well,
so I don't get the Dawn on my
you
hands.
prefer having one of those bottle brushes,
like a
but they
bottle
get
brush.
yucky. When you cook a lot of homemade food, they get yucky very quickly.
So I'm just saying, it's like fight with tools.
He's not joking.
Fight
It's
with
so
tools.
funny.
Okay, the other question is, so you don't use anything along with TSP for dishes. We just use TSP. And then anything along with, you do use something, I know this, with STTP for laundry.
Mm-hmm.
What is the thing you're putting in with the laundry? Because you use the additive.
Yeah. So
That's the STTP.
my understanding is that you can use the TSP on its own at 1/4 of a cup per load for like bleaching things and really, really heavy duty washing. But if you're, I don't understand how this works though, because then I've read in other places that it doesn't actually work unless you have a soap to activate it with it.
Okay.
So without having my recipe in front of me, I just have a powdered laundry mix that I make and put in like a glass container that I believe is 2 cups of borax, powdered borax, 2 cups of washing soda, not baking soda, but washing soda, and 2/3 of a cup of the TSP. And then you use 1 heaping tablespoon of that per load of laundry, which doesn't seem like very much considering the fact that you need a whole 1/4 of a cup for like heavy duty. But I mean, I've been doing it for months now and
Works good.
Yeah, it's fine.
And then I've added a little bit of that STTP in my dress shirts too.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you mean, oh yes. Okay. I've heard people I've seen multiple places people have been using it kind of like as a cleaner in other parts of their house. I don't know how. I don't know if they're like putting it in water or something, but
Don't eat it.
yeah,
Don't put it in your
don't eat it.
eyes. Don't snort it.
Don't snort it.
Okay,
If you
that's
have
my
hard water,
contribution.
I think we've learned now because our water softener ran out of salt the last few
My
days.
bad.
If you have hard water, it will make your dishes cloudy in
Yeah.
the dishwasher.
Yeah.
So, but if you have a water softener, it doesn't
Okay,
seem to be
the
an
last
issue.
part of that question was, what surfaces do you use Tide and bleach on? Just like bleach, Jenna.
Pretty much everything because I'm not soaking it on anything. I know there's certain rules for where you are and aren't. I think that has to do more with stone though.
It's more about protecting the surface.
Yeah, and because
In
I'm
that
not
case.
soaking it or using it on the reg.
And we don't have porous stone in our
We do have
kitchen.
stone in our kitchen.
We don't have porous stone.
Oh,
we have
porous
a sealed,
stone.
very
Okay,
smooth,
okay.
like a some
Yeah.
like porous tile and things can absorb it.
I actually had more issues with the ammonia mix stripping things than I've ever had with bleach and Tide.
So bleach, though, you use generally like bathroom cleaning,
Bathroom
some
cleaning.
kitchen surfaces,
Yeah, like
high traffic stuff,
yeah,
doorknobs.
yes. When I do that, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that every single week, but yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Let me just get this one out of the way because about a zillion of you asked it. Do you have any more details on the homekeeping binder? What's the homekeeping binder, Lexi? What about the cleaning binder, Lexi mentioned? Anybody have any idea where the cleaning binder is? What were you talking about with that home cleaning binder? And tell us more about
I'm
that.
very sorry. I didn't realize when I said that, not that it matters because I do still use it. I didn't realize it's like not in print anymore.
Yeah, we were going to put it in the description and then it wasn't in print.
Yeah, I went to try and find it and she doesn't make it anymore. I'm not quite sure why.
So we're considering making one.
Yeah, because there's
It's super
literally
useful.
nothing else like it that I've found.
Yeah. So sorry, guys. It doesn't exist. So we are looking into making a simple version of it that we could make available somehow.
That
So
I would
stay
like to
tuned.
tweak even more towards
it more for our
large
style.
family,
Yeah.
productive home type stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question then says, hi, I am one of 5 kids and my siblings are all professing Christians, and one of them is living in, to my knowledge, unrepentant sin. I talked with my sister about it in what I thought and my husband thought was a very loving way. My mom says that me being direct was a bad idea and has/will only cause more harm than good. My sister invited me to speak into her situation by venting to me about some problems that have come from it, and our relationship seems fine, but was it right for me to speak into it in the first place? How/when Or should I speak into my siblings' lives when they are living in sin or struggling?
Yeah. I mean, Song of Solomon comes to mind immediately. It seems like there's some sort of accountability between brothers and sisters in there. But I mean, especially if she asked, like,
Yeah, I don't want to like dishonor your mom. Just generally, sometimes I'll say this. Sometimes I have found this to be prevalent in the Gen X and baby boomer generations, especially in the church culture that was quite popular then. It was generally a broadly evangelical megachurch, kind of lowest common denominator theologically and in terms of moral order to enter the church. So churches that are dominated by this thinking tend to have a very low frequency of church discipline. You can get away with almost like anything in a church
Literally.
like this and not be put under church discipline. So along with that, they have adopted often an idea of the Christian view of charity that is like, don't judge. And we're all about grace. And what they've been weaker on is loving one another in a Galatians 6:1 way, which says that, brothers, if anyone is caught in a trespass, you who are spiritual, restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness, keeping watch on yourself, lest you be tempted. So let's say that, given a hypothetical, you have a married couple and the wife is, files for divorce or is wilding out, and like her friends her church family ought to directly confront that sin up to and including her being disciplined by the church. Let's say you have a sibling who is like shacking up with someone and they're not married and they're fornicating and this is going on. Well, you have a duty as a Christian, just a Christian brother or sister in generally, but how much more as a natural brother or sister as well, to call to account a professing Christian who's living in unrepentant, serious sin. So do it gently, do it specifically, make sure you're addressing real sins and not just preferences. Like there's lots of things to be sure of, but you do have a duty. We're not free to just allow one another to wander off the reservation and nobody ever go grab them.
Yeah.
Or seek their good.
Yeah. And there have been times too when I'm not certain if I should say something, but a sibling will bring something up and I will just flat out say, do you want my opinion?
Totally.
Just to kind of be like, everyone's
clear. You really
clear.
want my real opinion? Because I'm about to give it to you.
So I think it's okay to do that too. But I mean, obviously, especially if there's nothing wrong, like you still seem to be in good relationship with your sibling and it genuinely hasn't caused an issue. Not that causing an issue is always wrong per se, but I wouldn't necessarily think you were overstepping your boundaries or something.
No, it doesn't sound like it to me.
No.
Be respectful to your mom and dad too, across those kinds of disagreements.
Yeah.
Honor your father and mother. Okay. Next question. Hey guys, your podcast has been a great blessing to my life, and I praise the Lord for that. Thank you for saying that. It's encouraging. They said, I just wondered if you had reading recommendations on Christian parenting, or could do an episode on practical parenting. I was not raised in a Christian home and feel lost. I think we have some episodes on parenting in our back catalog.
We do have quite a few.
I would say that Reb Bradley's Child Training Tips is a great short practical book that will kind of punch you in the mouth in terms of just like no cover for consistency and discipline, and the mechanics is very practical. That's the book we recommend in our church more often than not. For just doesn't belabor the point. It's not 400 pages. It's just, this is what discipline is. This is generally how to undertake it. Now do it consistently. Are there any other good parenting books that you'd recommend?
Books
or resources, I guess.
I really
broadly.
like the spring cleaning series on the Canon app that was done by Matt Whitling, the headmaster, because he has 7 kids.
Awesome. And
I liked that series because he tackled like all ages, which was really helpful for me, as we've gotten out of the spanking age for some kids. Like, what are some other, how do you handle bitterness between siblings? How do you handle gossip? How do you handle pride when you can't send somebody to their room per se? So I really liked that one. And then I still prefer the Why Children Matter, the original video series, even more than the book. It was a Q&A that you can find on Vimeo. And it was a series of videos, just like Q&As that Doug and Nancy did on really practical things. I found that super duper helpful when we were quite a bit younger.
Yeah, there were some basic principles there that sunk home for us.
I'm pretty sure they turned that video series into the Q&A at the back of the book. So, I mean, read the whole book if you want, but it was the Q&A that I found the most helpful.
Yes, agreed on that.
I can't really think of other like super duper duper practical. There's other parenting books I like, but not.
Yeah. Those are real practical. Okay, next one. Hi, Brian and Lexy. First, thank you for your ministry and wisdom from which our family has greatly benefited for the last few years. To God be the glory. Amen. How would you navigate walking through a situation in which you were deeply hurt by your elders and have lost trust in their leadership? Should we suffer great injustice and be willing to be wronged for the sake of staying in our church, whom we love deeply and have poured out our lives for over the past several years? Or do you start thinking about finding a new church? This is a very tough question, and some of it can only be answered generally because it really does depend. Mm-hmm. The nature of the sins and the nature of the issues. They said, an situation in which you were deeply hurt by your elders and have lost trust in their leadership. So being sinned against or hurt by elders and losing trust is one possibility of something that can happen in a church, even a good church with good men as elders, because elders are humans and they are sinners and they make mistakes and they fall short and are prone to error. Okay, so I think it's important to set one edge of the conversation to say we need to be careful and that we're not quick to, because of an error or one issue or even a real sin against you that an elder might commit, that you would write the church off and be gone quickly. I'm not sensing that attitude in this question, but I think that's worth saying just because I can think of situations where maybe I did something screwed up or hurt somebody's feelings or spoke imprecisely in a sermon in a way that I had to say, you know what, I was off on that. Please forgive me. Okay. But when there's, on the other hand, there is such thing as a sin or a pattern or hurt or loss of trust that is significant enough that you can't in good conscience fellowship there. So that's two sides of the road where there's definitely possibilities. I would say that you have to talk to your elders about it. Like the manner of, like the outcome of their response to it. Let's say that I'm just going to assume for the sake of this general advice I'm giving that you're correct, that they sinned and they were wrong and they hurt you like sinfully or negligently and that you genuinely lost trust. How they respond to that is going to be really important for me in counseling someone, particularly in what they should do. If they did something really wrong and it was deeply hurtful and you'd lost trust and they are not at all repentant or receptive to any sort of feedback, there's no contrition, and then you just have to think, well, that's probably going to happen again. Because people who are unrepentant for sins often are going to continue walking in them.
Yeah, and I guess they're not actually pastoring you at that point.
Yeah, it just so much depends on the context.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard because you can have congregants that are too fastidious and nitpick details that really ought to be overlooked in charity.
Absolutely.
Like, I had a bad Sunday. The sermon wasn't that great.
Yeah, or even like, you know, the guy was in a bad mood one day and he snapped and said something rude. Man, I remember this one time that I was teaching a class or something.
I know what you're going to say.
And I often end the class in a Sunday school type of environment with in questions. And someone had asked a question that was just really disrespectful. It was like
it was a pattern, a habit of this person too.
And it had been intended to be like
yes.
a dig, a cutting remark about the elders. And it genuinely was a bad comment. Like it was a sinful comment. They shouldn't have said it. It was immature. It was not helpful. It was totally inappropriate in the context. It was not respectful to the elders. But I replied quite quickly without taking much thought in a rather cutting way. Like I was very hard on it. And in retrospect, I should not have answered the way that I did. Genuinely, my thought was I did not respond appropriately. I didn't fly off the handle. I didn't cuss anybody out. Nothing like that. I just responded very directly, very forcefully right away and said basically like, that's a really rude.
called him out for what he was doing.
I basically called him out.
Yeah.
And there are circumstances surrounding it make it like I shouldn't have done that. And I apologize. Like
you did. You publicly apologized.
I apologized to the guy, and I apologized to everybody, and said, I shouldn't have responded that way, guys. Please forgive me. So I'm thinking about just as a human and a pastor, like I know I've had to do that before, and it's humbling.
And it helps other people then know how to do that when they do that same sin. Like, oh, my pastor could repent.
Yeah, that's true. It's supposed to. So long story short, it's tough to wade through that in a general sense. You're going to have to do the calculus of, is this a pattern? Is it a disqualifying sin that's not being dealt with? Or is the way of their manner of their dealing with it disqualifying? Are the other elders willing to see and weigh in on it? Are they repentant? And maybe there was hurt, but they're not disqualified for ministry. They did sin, but they repented and asked for your forgiveness. And at that point, I would say let them regain your trust and stay and do the hard work of remaining in fellowship. But if there's like a serious ongoing unrepentant issue of sin that has made it so you can't trust your elders, I've told people, like, if someone doesn't trust me or the elders, I would actually rather them peacefully transfer their membership somewhere they do have that confidence, rather than sitting in a state of perpetual distrust of the elders. And that can be for theological reasons as well as
not even
other issues. Anything you want to add on last thoughts before we move on?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay. This next question, they included their name. I'm not going to include their name, just so in case they didn't want that. But it's a young woman. She says, currently I'm 18 under my father's roof. I was wondering if you could talk about the role of young women who are wanting to be married but still in their parents' house. Is it appropriate in the meantime to get a full-time job outside of the home, or rather stay at the house learning more feminine arts? Have young unmarried women started working due to feminism? Thank you for your time. Your podcast has been a wonderful help.
Question.
So, yeah, great question. What's your take? 18-year-old young lady, not married, wants to be married, still in her parents' house. Should she get a full-time job? Should she not? Is this something that she could? And is it a freedom, or is there a law here? What do we think?
Okay, so I have so many thoughts. Okay, so my understanding of the household throughout history is that the household could not function in and of itself if people were not all pulling their load. That was also because there was a lot less centralization. Walmart didn't exist throughout history, so we had to help be gardening, to grow the flax, to pick the flax, to create the thread and yarn, to create the clothes. Like, it was a long, long process. And if daughter would have turned 18 and decided to go help another household, that just wouldn't have worked. Her household would have gone under. So I think normative throughout history, she probably did just continue to contribute to her local household. Yeah. I have a friend that told me recently that she has a good Amish friend, actually, that I think the Amish don't consider them adults until 20 or 21, if I'm correct. And so she joyfully spent about, I think they finished high school at 15 or 16. And then she spent 15 to 21 essentially helping her mother run the household. And that's 5 years of running a productive Amish, a very productive household filled with lots of children, that you are then stepping into motherhood in your own household much, much, much more prepared. So I don't think we can make a hard and fast law about this, but man, I think about what a gift it would have been if I had had even 2 years of that sort of running of a household, sharpening my skills, not being pressured to have to go out and work. And the other thing that I've noticed too, definitely not so much in the church anymore, but when, years ago, pre-2020, when I had a very small handful of older high school girls who graduated and went to college that I was like mentoring at my house in a more Titus 2 setting. That was kind of the first time I was saying, sure, let's talk about this book, but you have to fold my laundry.
While we talk.
They would actually tell me, I remember one of them came over and was helping me make breadsticks for dinner. She wasn't staying for dinner, but I had a big group coming over for dinner, and she was making the breadsticks from scratch. And she told me, she's like, I am so busy with work that I don't learn how to cook unless I'm at your house. And that was devastating to me because I was like, well, wait a second. What? So I think you can just rush out and get a job because it's the next thing to do without being thoughtful about the fact that this is a season of your life where you may be gifted. And obviously provision is different. Not all ladies maybe grew up with a dad in the household, so they had to just go get a job. But I think we can rush off and just do that because it's what's expected instead of the opposite. I mean, we know local families in the area that have young adult daughters that the daughters have just stayed home and continued to run the family businesses, help mom around the house, homeschool the siblings.
Yeah. So there's two directions that a young woman in this situation needs to be thinking. One of them is contributing to her own current household. Mm-hmm. The other one is contributing to her future household. And there's multiple ways that can happen. Contributing to her own current household really needs to start with submitting to her father in his needs, vision for the household. Basically, asking her father, how can I participate in this household now in a way that will help prepare me for my next household? That might be putting the ball in your dad's court in a way he hasn't thought about. Mm-hmm. If maybe he's not like thinking about in the direction of Bright Hearthian sort of directions. Mm-hmm. But still asking, can I cook? Can I help with keeping the home? Are there tasks around the house that I can learn? So helping her household is one.
Just a comment there real quick, because that also trains your parents to see that you are an asset to the household.
Totally.
That you aren't to be shipped off to college.
Yeah. In the second aspect, her future household, how can I build up my future household? Well, one of the ways is by learning the skills of homemaking, accruing competency in these areas, including the simple competency of hard work. That's very important. There could be opportunity for her to go work and earn a wage and save that money and be prepared to contribute financially to a future household. But the best case scenario, the example you gave is a great example of this, where the father was forward thinking and his daughters are obviously staying home and he's helping them marry well. But in the meantime, they're contributing to family businesses. In some ways, they're accruing financial blessing for their future homes, but their father's thinking also about how he can bless them in giving them opportunity for skill and for blessing to that future home. So the big thing that I would say is that I really don't like this thing that is very common, which is to send the young women off to start their own household on their own. I think that's almost always a foolish idea. And that includes the college thing, where she's starting her own household functionally by going off to college alone and that sort of thing. I think that's generally foolish. I don't think it matches onto the vocation vocational spheres of womanhood well, and I think it has had devastating consequences culturally and for many of the women in the households that have done that. So I would say generally, if at all possible, if she has wise Christian parents, she should stay home under her father's roof. She should contribute to that household. If she does get a job, it should be one that is a job that her father has approved of and said, this is a job that I'm confident that I'm not sending my daughter off to become the victim of an evil culture or to be stolen in terms of her heart or discipled into evil. And I mean, man, that's like, there's a lot of jobs now that I wouldn't send my daughters out to do, just quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather them stay home and learn the arts of being a woman and managing a house. But there are businesses absolutely where they could. So I'm thinking of like a lot of service industries I wouldn't want to send my daughters into. There are service industries where I would, like small family businesses, and just be careful. This cold and flu season, fortify your defenses naturally with the Kings Ridge elderberry syrup and elderberry products. They grow the freshest elderberries on their Indiana farm, cold press them into the tastiest syrup around. Their products are packed with antioxidants and vitamins to boost your immune system. Use code Bright Hearth, all caps, Bright Hearth, for 10% off your first order at tkrfarm.com. The Kings Ridge elderberry syrup. Taste the difference, help push back the curse. That's tkrfarm.com. Looking for a gift that will last for 1,000 generations? Check out rootedpineshomestead.com, where they work together as a family economy to create natural wooden toys and herbal remedies. Coated with only coconut oil and beeswax, their toys are safe enough for the mouths of babes. Use code BRIGHTHEARTH, that's all caps Bright Hearth, at checkout for 10% off your first order. And there's a link in the show notes for that below. Here at Bright Hearth, we're all about helping you not turn into a girl if you're a boy, or into a boy if you're a girl. You know what might be doing that to you? The soap in your shower. And so we are pleased to introduce you to IndigoSundrySoap.com, link in the description, of course, who can provide you with soaps and more without any of the nasty stuff. And because they love you, they're giving you a discount code, guys. So use code, all caps, Bright Hearth, for 10% off your whole order. Support this great Christian company and support Bright Hearth Podcast at the same time. Check them out at IndigoSundrySoap.com. And of course, that link is in the description. Okay, we've got a few more questions here to round it out. This one's pretty direct. How should one deal with an overbearing, narcissistic mother-in-law who presents herself as a devoted Christian and active church member, but exhibits jealousy, deceit, and disruptive behavior that creates conflict within the family? There's constant drama, I'm summarizing here. Constant drama, manipulative fits, lying, bitterness. How do you handle a narcissistic individual who says they're a Christian but has profound negative impact on your family dynamics? Okay, there's layers to this one that's tough. Because when you're called to honor your father or mother, you're marrying into another family, your wife's children, your wife's parents are now in your circle and your parents are in hers. So you're called to honor one another's parents in that way. And that has genuine duties that sometimes are difficult when they are not behaving honorably. However, the duty doesn't evaporate the second somebody is sinful.
Yeah, those are precisely given for times like that.
So one of the first things I would say to somebody who's asking this kind of question, and I'm genuinely not gaslighting you here saying that that's not real, but you need to make sure that you're being accurate in your description. Think about, we've given examples like a wife who has the habit of saying that her husband has said or done things or intended things that he really never said or did or intended. Like, well, he just hates me and he never wants to be around me. And then you say, well, when did he say that? And you're like, well, he was 15 minutes late home from work twice this week. You're like, okay, so you felt like that's what he meant and said, but he never said that.
Or I can think of a conversation I had with a young woman who came from a broken home, and she thought her mother-in-law was overbearing, and she gave me all these examples, and I was like, actually, that's just normal mom behavior that you didn't know because you didn't grow up with the normal mom.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So in this situation, before you do a solo diagnosis of somebody, and I'm not talking about going around and gossiping, but you should consider the fallibility of your own thoughts and diagnosis. Make sure you're being fair and using the measure that you would want someone to measure you with. So that was a very direct, and you might have a terrible mother-in-law. I'm not saying that you don't. You might have a narcissist who's jealous and deceitful and disruptive. Like, we've all met people like this in our life. They exist. So the first step, though, is make sure that you are being careful and accurate in your diagnosis of the sins. And then one of the next steps, I would say, is you need to think in terms of the hierarchies involved. Okay, are you all in the same church? That's going to affect how you approach this. Are they in a totally different church or not a Christian even? Are they still married to, is the woman still married to her husband and the father of your spouse?
Is he a Christian?
Is he a Christian? So let's just assume everybody's a Christian or says they are in this situation. If it was like, if I'm the wife and it's my mother-in-law, so my husband's mom, then I would be talking to my husband about it, making sure we're getting clear on if we're correct about this diagnosis. And then I would want that husband to go have a talk with the dad about mother-in-law. I would want the husband to have a talk because the dad is the authority in that home. He's the head of that home, and he's the one who's responsible, primarily, according to Ephesians 5, to oversee the sanctification of his wife, to wash her in the water of the word and see her presented without spot or blemish before the throne of God. Okay? That's his duty. And I would be working in those kinds of lines to try and address this issue. Sometimes there are going to be situations where then you need to get pastors involved. It's okay to have direct conversations with people when they sin against you. A daughter-in-law can absolutely have a respectful conversation with a mother-in-law referencing a specific sin that she feels the mother-in-law committed. I mean, I'm eager to forgive you, but those conversations can absolutely happen. You just need to make sure that they're calm insofar as it's up to you, clear, biblical, and that you're really clear on biblical peacemaking 101.
Yeah.
Pastors may need to get involved. Other people may need to get involved. But work through those established channels first. Try to do so humbly. Understand people are slow to change and they're very difficult.
I think the average person, the average child in a situation like this has not reckoned with the fact that they are not actually within the hierarchy of change in their parents' lives. And I feel like once you recognize that, it kind of takes the weight off of you in some way so that you can be free to honor and not feel like you need to correct every little thing.
Yeah.
Or confront, or, you can cover it in love.
Absolutely. So, that would be some of the beginnings there. Going directly when appropriate, going through the proper channels as well, working from a couple angles. Last thing I would say is that there are times when somebody is so caught in sin and trespass and so disruptive and wicked that you have to have clear boundaries in your relationship to them. And that sucks when it's a parent, but that is sometimes lawful. And I would do that only with agreement between husband and wife, getting counsel from elders.
Yeah.
And then going, you know what? We're not going to be able to have these conversations until repentance happens here.
Yeah.
And honestly, that really should most often be the husband saying to the person, Mom, you can't treat my wife the way you have been. Or we won't allow this behavior to be affecting the kids any longer. So that can be appropriate, but it needs to be done with care. Okay, let's see. 1, 2 more, and they're pretty brief. So I would love to hear more about what Lexy's days look like, more specifically how she sets herself up for success. I find it encouraging that she's an early riser, as it's something I've recently taken on, and I'm quickly seeing the fruit of time with the Lord before my family wakes. I'm curious how she maintains presenting herself in a lovely way serving her family and community, but keeps a self-controlled peace as well. I'm sure she has days that are more difficult, but some encouragement for an even-tempered day of gracious serving and maintaining a feminine tone demeanor would be appreciated. Let's go.
Okay.
Walk us through it. 3 a.m., wake up.
No.
Gaze upon my husband's
face. 6 o'clock. Between 5:30 and 6, I wake up naturally. Always have. Probably always will. I spend about half an hour reading my Bible in my morning stack of books. And then I go work out from like 6:30ish until 7. Most days I work out. If I'm leaving the house, okay, the question was about also remaining presentable. If I know I got to leave the house that day, I do try to make an effort before the kids wake up to curl my hair. I don't always get my makeup done and stuff, but I do try to get my hair done because that's harder to do once everyone else is up, to like leave for an extended amount of time. So if that means my workout gets cut short or I don't read my books, I just read my Bible that day, that's just what it means. But typically I'm using that time either to, like this morning I was listening to Dostoevsky while getting ready. So that's like before the kids wake up. I usually have breakfast prepped the night before. On my index card, I have every meal figured out the night before. And so I am cooking and making breakfast while the kids are getting up and getting dressed and stuff. So, what time do you guys leave for school?
7:55.
Okay, so I have about an hour there with the kids in the morning where I'm helping them get ready. I'm cooking. I might be prepping something. Like this morning, I put a chicken in the Instant Pot to get ready for dinner, to at least get ahead on dinner somehow. And then once they leave, I'm cleaning up the kitchen. I'm doing school with the other kids that are here. And then one of the keys for me to just stay ahead in the household is every morning they have 30 minutes of time after school that they are playing alone together in the baby's room with special toys. Sometimes they have music, sometimes not. Depends on how mischievous the children are and if they'll get the phone. And that half an hour is when I get through my chores. So I think this is one of the big things that a lot of women, I was actually tweeting about this yesterday, women might feel really overwhelmed in the household, like they can never get ahead or they never have free time to sit and read, but they've also not built in any quiet times at all for their kids. They think the second the child gives up nap, well, first of all, they think the child gets to determine when they give up nap. Second of all, they give up all quiet times in general when really they could slide in a quiet playtime. So when my babies drop, they go from 2 naps to 1. The first nap of the day becomes that quiet playtime. So I have had that since my first child was born, where he had toys and music and he played in his crib for half an hour, even if he didn't nap. And that's how I would cook dinner or how I would clean the toilets or something. And I still have that. And that's my one assured slot in the day where I can clean something. So after that, it's just kind of like play, free for all. Like today I did get to tackle some of my December deep cleaning after that because the kids were having a grand old time with some cardboard boxes. And so not every day, like yesterday, I wasn't feeling good. So I just sat and read with them basically after that morning cleaning. We just read books until lunchtime. But today I did get to do some other stuff, tooled around the kitchen. Then we eat lunch together. And then they go down for 2 hours. And Cyril, my 5-year-old, is this too much detail for people?
No, it's great.
Okay, 5-year-old is starting to give up naps, but that does not mean that 2-hour quiet rest time is going to go away. We've kind of made it a rule in the Sauvé household that you have quiet rest time every day because you're a human that needs rest, not because you're a human that actually needs a nap. So this is also how I feel like we have really instilled a culture of reading in our home, is that means Sunday through Saturday, every single day of the week. If you're home from 12 to 2, you're probably reading quietly for an hour or listening to an audiobook or drawing and drinking tea. You're not going crazy in the house doing whatever you want. It is quiet time. And some kids this comes more naturally with than others. One of mine right now has not taken to it very well. So I've been having to bribe them with extra cups of tea to keep them quiet, which is fine. But it's another, that's the second slot in my day where if I need a nap, I have 2 hours to myself.
Yeah.
If I want to work on a project like knitting or sewing or something, I have 2 hours to myself. Usually, if I'm going to be honest, today, this season of life, it's been like this since Alfred was born. I am always catching up on laundry during nap time, but I'm usually listening to a book during that time then too.
Yeah.
And then I get some time to sit and just like read something else or do some research, or I'm trying to think of what else I don't know. I don't like watch Netflix or anything during the day.
No.
So after that, I go get my kids from school, and then we kind of come home and start our afternoon things, any chores. Like Daphne was unloading the dishwasher when she got home. They have piano practice. We kind of all start dinner together. I helped Daphne prep breakfast. The kids don't have tons of like assigned chores. All their assigned chores have to do with keeping the kitchen functioning and cleaning up from dinner. So that's kind of it, I think. So yeah, if I keeping myself presentable, just get ready in the morning. I don't know.
You look good all day.
What else was
You look
in
good
there?
from waking to sleeping is what I'm hearing.
No.
That's what I see.
Winnie was not. I was cleaning light fixtures and blinds today.
Mm-hmm.
I have a big belly now. I trip easily on skirts, so I put on sweatpants. Winifred did not like that.
Really?
At lunchtime, she looked at me and said, "Mommy, you need to go get dressed." And I said, "Winnie, I have sweatpants on because I've been cleaning the blinds all morning." Okay.
That's so
and she was like, "What do
funny.
you mean?" And I said, "I have to climb up onto furniture. I can't be tripping over skirts and dresses."
She was like offended.
Oh yeah,
That's
no,
so
they'll tell me
funny.
that. Like if my hair's not done,
Yes, I know.
they know. And it's,
Mama.
I don't mind it because I'm not offended by it, and I want to set the culture of feminine beauty.
They're not
in my
being
home.
rude. They're being cute little kids. Like they're
No.
just like used to you being.
Yeah.
That's so cute. Okay.
Also, I've been sick this week, so they're like, "What is going on with you,
we're
Mom?
just like, ugh.
Go do your hair."
Okay, last one. Christmas is approaching. What are some of your favorite family traditions? They say I'm pregnant with my first baby, about as far along as Lexi, and want to use this year as an opportunity to start finding traditions to build on in the future. It's all about nachos and creams. We make Italian cream sodas and nachos
Christmas Eve
every year after our Christmas Eve services. Because I'm busy all day, like I'm preaching and stuff at those. And then we get home.
Everyone loves it.
It's a lot of our stuff is like they're just fun little. They're food related.
They're all food related.
They're food related.
I've made it all food related.
We typically put up and decorate the house for Christmas at day after Thanksgiving. So the tree goes up, ornaments, wreaths, everything, like it's all prettified for the holiday season.
I would say pick one or two things to add each year. And then if you didn't like it, just let go of it the year after that. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, see what sticks.
Yeah. Yeah, the nachos is fun for us. The kids really like, I haven't done it yet. The kids love to do those candy cane scavenger hunts where I just create a scavenger hunt in the house for them.
Yes.
This is the third year where on the Sundays in Advent, I will do hot chocolate with dessert.
Like a hot chocolate bar.
Yeah, which has been really fun this year to like invite people over for that, to do that. And so Sabbath in Advent, I try to go a little more all out with the desserts that I won't make any other time of the year. So we did sticky toffee pudding this Sunday, which was a new recipe for us this year. It was amazing and so easy to do for a crowd. And you can get like candy canes for them to stir their hot chocolate with and fun sprinkles and marshmallows. What did we do the week before that?
My brain is fuzzy.
I can't remember what the dessert was I made the week before that.
It was good.
Yeah. Oh, was it molasses cookies? They're those ginger snaps you like.
Yeah.
You really like ginger snaps. I have tried to do stuff that the kids like, but also stuff that like Brian liked from his childhood. Mm-hmm. We go look at Christmas lights.
Yeah, we usually take one drive, at least it's like an hour or two, all around the neighborhoods, looking at the Christmas lights late at night.
That's something I grew up doing, and I loved doing that as a kid. I can't think of a ton of other. grandparents kind of do. My mom likes to make pizzelle cookies with them.
Yeah.
Brian's parents like to do the gingerbread houses with them. Oh, last year we did the spring roll cookies for the first time, where I gifted them each their own spring roll stamp, and they really liked that. And they keep telling me we have to make those again this year. So that was like kind of a keeper tradition. So I don't get tied to things for the sake of the tradition itself, but like genuinely what does serve your family and what do they enjoy doing? So there's some ideas. Yep.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for your questions. Keep sending them in. I will try to remember to include them in future episodes so we don't have to do a mega Q&A episode. But Merry Christmas to everybody. I think this comes out the 16th of December. So we hope you guys have a great Christmas with your families. And we appreciate you guys listening and supporting the show. Hope that it's helpful to you. A couple quick notes here. Remember, we do have our conference coming up in June. I know that sounds a long ways away, but the tickets are in the early bird pricing till I think just the end of December. So if you want to come, definitely grab. These will be the cheapest tickets all year. So pick those up. We are getting an even bigger venue this year, and it should be a really fun time. We'll have a singles mixer. We added some other things like a pastor's breakfast and a business lunch, like business leaders or business owners lunch sort of thing. So there's just a bunch of new stuff that we're doing this year, along with the core that we've enjoyed the last 2 years as well. And if you'd like to support our work here at Bright Hearth, you can do that on our Patreon channel. But thanks for listening, guys. Merry Christmas, and we'll catch you next time on Bright Hearth.